a couple more minutes to allow some more people to jump in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. For anybody who just joined, we're going to give it a few more minutes or a couple more minutes for anybody else to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Campus 201 for insurers and TPAs, and happy Friday. Thanks for joining us here on this rescheduled training event. I also have Angie and Virginia on the line as well from DLI to help kind of field questions. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So like I said, this is the Campus 201 training for insurers and TPAs so that we can walk you through the variety of external web forms available to you and your group. So this course is an hour and a half, but we have 2 hours set aside for the training so that we can leave time for answering questions both as we go and towards the end. And then the prereqs for this course, everyone here should have already participated in the Campus 101, where there was more general functionality included that kind of feeds into these 201 courses. So you can see the agenda. We'll discuss claim reporting via eforms. Then we'll jump into requests for information, then annual claim reimbursement process, and then finish up with assessments. So jumping into the claim reporting for eforms. So trading partners that have been approved to submit eforms over EDI will have access to a dedicated button on their homepage. And we'll show you what this looks like during the demo when we dive into the system. But from this screenshot, you can see up in the top right-hand corner of this homepage or dashboard, it's really small, but it says submit eForm or web form. So again, trading partners that have been confirmed as electronic filers, which I'll discuss a little further in detail here coming up. But once you log in, you'll have that button, at which point you select that button. You can choose from the type of submission that you are looking to submit, either a FROI, amended FROI, or one of the subsequent reportings. And then once you file that, or you can either do that from this homepage, or there are some additional navigation paths that allow you to submit that as well that we'll discuss. But when you log in, you can see that button up there that will allow you to access that directly from your homepage. When you do access that, you'll be prompted to select an option for what you'd like to do next. As you can see in this example, the selection was submit to an existing claim. So that would be a SROI or amended FROI. And then you would select from your claims if you're accessing this from the dashboard. Again, you can access this directly from the claim that we'll discuss later. So at that point, the claim would already be determined for you. You wouldn't have to select the claim that you're reporting on. And then it's going to ask you which next action you'd like to take. and that includes the same sequencing that's applicable for EDI. So the system already narrows down your options for what you're able to submit based off of your latest submission. And then in that drop down, you'll also see options for claim reporting web forms. So there's 4 web forms that have been built into Campus to help facilitate additional reporting outside of EDI. And we'll see what those are coming up. But those can be used by both e-filers or EDI submitters. So we'll dive into that more specific. So in this example, the next action was one of these additional web forms as opposed to a FROI or SHROI MTC submission. So once that was selected, it would navigate you directly to that applicable, what we call web forms, which we covered a little bit in Campus 101. But these web forms are specific to information that will feed into the claim. I think this will all make more sense once we get into the system, and I'll show you what that looks like. In this example, one of the options, or the next action option, was the dependency info web form, which is one of those 4 supplemental claim web forms that can be filed against a claim. And then here you can see just an example, a screenshot of what that web form looks like. So depending on what you select, you'll be navigated to the appropriate web form to submit the information that's relevant to what you're looking to do.
Tyler,
So we
can
also
you jump
have,
in for just a second?
yes.
So just to alleviate, there was a little bit of confusion on previous trainings when we were discussing these web forms. So just for clarification, if your company is submitting filings to us via EDI, you do not need to come into Campus and do the e-form equivalence. If your company is an e-filer, you would come into Campus and you would submit those e-form equivalents. These supplemental web forms that Tyler's running through, like that dependency web form that he was talking about, and I believe he'll hit on a few others, those are filings that would need to be done whether your company is an e-filer or you're submitting your main filings to us via EDI. So just something to keep in mind as we're going through these web forms, that the bulk of these are going to be something that you would need to submit either way. But if we refer to e-forms or EDI equivalent forms, those would not need to be submitted unless you are an e-filing company.
Yep, good call out, Angie. Thank you. And we'll see what that looks like in the system as well. I know it can be confusing by just text on a slide or these small screenshots. So we'll dive in deeper and see what you can expect as far as filing those 4 specific claim supporting web forms versus if you're an e-filing trading partner filing e-FROIs or e-SHROIs. So here we did touch base on this a little bit in 101 as far as serving documents through Campus, either electronically or via mail using a mailing address. So this just is a recap that when you submit some web forms, there's the additional option to complete the affidavit of service process that allows you to identify parties on the related case or claim that you would like to serve the document that gets generated upon submission. So this is just a refresher of that process, but some of these forms you can expect to see the affidavit of service step. I don't believe that this is a step on any of the forms, those 4 claim supporting forms that we discussed. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Tyler, the only time that any of you all would see this affidavit of service step would be on that discontinuance web form. And then that's just required for those NOID 3 situations in addition to your EDI or eSHROI suspension transaction. I think Tyler's going to run through that one, but that would be the only one of those 4 web forms that we highlight in addition to EDI where you would see this affidavit of service process.
Awesome, thanks for the clarification. So you could expect that on that discontinuance web form since it's a statute of the EDI guidelines. So I'll show you what that looks like in Campus as well. So here again, this is another example of one of those four. So we've seen the PPD follow-up, the discontinuance web form. This is the missing benefits web form that helps you as the trading partner, or it helps you as the insurer submit information about missing benefits on the claim, so that you can paint a better picture of the total benefits of a claim. So it's just another example of one of those claim supporting web forms that can be filed on a claim in Campus. And I'm passing over these pretty quick because we are covering these web forms, but each web form itself you can work with and get familiar with what is needed, and they all tell you what's required with the ability to provide additional information as needed. So we can go through these in more depth as well, but I'm just kind of going over them in more of a general format for now. So if there's any specific questions about any of the requirements around these four web forms or the eFROI, eSROI submissions, feel free to leave it in the chat and we can go in more detail. So this first demo we're going to cover, or we're going to see how to view, navigate, and submit to an associated web form. So one of these four claim supporting web forms. So I'm going to jump into Campus now as a electronic EDI submitter. So you can see when I'm logged in, I hit the homepage or dashboard specific to trading partners. So this only happens if you are a member of any trading partner group. So as an insurer or a TPA, you might not see this, but this is what you would see if you were a trading partner. And I can log in as what you would most likely see as well. But I wanted to show you the ability to submit the eFROI and eSROI directly from this page. So if I was a trading partner, so if I was a member of any group or the member of any trading partner group that was set up for e-filing, this is what I would be expected to see when I log in. So I know this trading partner doesn't have any claims right now, so I'm going to go to one that does. So submitting on behalf of this trading partner, if I wanted to submit a new claim, I could do that and it would navigate me directly to the eFROI web form, at which point I could input all the information around the eFROI specifically. So yeah, when we share on WebEx, it makes the test system a little slower. So you can definitely expect better performance in production when you're using this. But this is an example of a web form that helps input information around an eFROI or eSROI. So you'd put in all the information just as a EDI trading partner would submit via EDI. And then if I go back, you can see that if I were to choose the submit to an existing claim, my next choice would be to select the claim that I'm looking to submit on behalf of. So I'll pick this one, for example. And what it's doing now is it ran the sequencing in the background to help to narrow down your options for your MTCs. So these are all the applicable MTCs that I can report based off of what was last reported. So it does that for you. And then down here, you can see the four web forms that are supplemental to claim reporting. And to Angie's point earlier, these are included in this selection for e-filers, but these web forms are also available to all trading partners, no matter if you're submitting e-forms or submitting EDI.
And Tyler, I just want to pause for a second. I think we've got a couple questions, or I've gotten a couple questions sent. One just regarding submission of your transactions to Minnesota, so either EDI or eForm. So if you are planning to send via EDI, you would need to send all your transactions for your claims via EDI. You wouldn't be able to send Freud's EDI and then come in here and do eForm submissions. Our system is limited in that you have to choose one submission method that's consistent for all of your Froy and Shroy filings for all of your claims. We can absolutely switch that submission method at any time if you decide that you need to switch to if you need to switch from eforms to an EDI vendor or EDI Direct Connect, you can contact ELI and we can facilitate that for you. But the submission method does need to be consistent for everything. In addition, there was an eForm training that was conducted for a small group yesterday. We'll be posting that recording up on the website. So if you are an eForm filer and you were unable to attend that training, keep an eye out and you can watch that video recap.
Thanks, Angie. Yeah, and then I'm going to quickly discuss how you would be able to do that directly from the claim details page, and then we'll jump into a non-trading partner account so that you can get a better feel for what you, as an insurer TPA, would be seeing on the in campus to facilitate the submissions of those for claim supporting web forms. So I went to the trading partner details page by clicking on this view profile button for the selected trading partner. So that allows me to then see all claims where that trading partner is a party on. So that's a quick way to go directly to a specific claim for that trading partner group. So if I click into, click this associate ID hyperlink, that will take me directly to the claim details page. So you'll notice up here we have the submit a filing button and the submit eFroy web form. Since this trading partner is an electric filer, they have this additional button. So if I were to click that directly from this page, you can see that the next thing it asks me, it defaults to submit an existing claim because I'm on a claim. And then it just goes right to the next action because I don't need to identify the claim since I'm already on it. So that's a good way to submit e-filings or those web forms directly from this page. And if you're an insurer, obviously you wouldn't have this button because you're not submitting e-forms. That's on the trading partner profile to do. If you are part of a trading partner, then maybe you have this view and you can do it from there. But what I'm going to do now is go ahead and log out and log into a non-trading partner account, so that you can see more in line with what you should expect to see in campus as you log in as an insurer, trading partner, or TPA. So I acknowledge, you saw this in Campus 101, I acknowledge, I get into the system. And as you can see, this dashboard looks different from what we just saw because this user is not a member of a trading partner group. So they see the more general user dashboard, which is what you'll see. So if I were to need to submit one of those web forms on a claim, what you would do is you would go to that specific claim details page by navigating it to it from your queues. So once you're on this page, you'll see that I don't have that submit eFroy web form button, but you can still submit those 4 additional claim supporting web forms through this submit filing button here at the top right hand corner on the claim details page. So once I click on that, I'll make the appropriate selection from this filing dropdown. So you'll see that I have the PPD follow-up, which is one of them, the missing benefits, the discontinuance, and the dependency info. So those are the 4 claim supporting web forms that are available in that submit eForm or web form filing, but they're also available through this submit a filing option directly from the claim for non-trading partners. So that's most likely where you'll be interacting with this if you were to need to submit one of those web forms against one of your claims. So I'll go into this and do the discontinuance one that has the affidavit of service. So you can kind of see what that looks like. So once you select this specific web form and click save, you'll be automatically directed to that specific web form, at which point you can fill in all the information that you have, as well as all the required information. So if I were to just throw in some information here, I can attach a supporting attachment if need be. And I can just do that by selecting the document and then applying a document type like we've seen in Campus 101. Obviously that document type might not be applicable to this scenario, but I'm going to do that as an example. And then here you see the last section of this web form is the affidavit of service. I can not serve anybody, but if I wanted to serve parties on this claim, I can go through and select those. If I select the main group, it will also select the associated users under that party. So you can see all of that there. So I'm gonna go through and select some examples there, and then you apply your declaration here, sign your full name, and then do your affirmation right there. So that would complete this web form. So if I submit, it does a few things. It will generate the associated document. So it memorializes this discontinuance into the record, into the claim. And then it will also serve any electronic parties that have been identified to their selected email. And then it will also generate any needed address labels to serve that document manually so that you can print that out and then mail that to the appropriate parties. So it's doing all of that in the background. So that's what you can expect to, how you would expect to interact with that discontinuous web form. Some of the other web forms, again, the running WebEx, screen sharing, as well as being in the test environment, make this run a little slow, but you would have that process once you select it. So I'm gonna jump back over to that same claim to show you the other web forms while this is kind of running in the background. So if I were to go back to that claim and then click the submit a filing button again, I can see that I can then select from any of the other available claim supporting web forms. So I can do the dependency info, I can do a PPD follow-up, if I go back there. So you can see how just select whichever form is needed, and then you can interact with that web form as needed. So I'm gonna keep moving on in the second time, make sure we have time to go through all of the different sections of the training. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the chat or directly to Angie, but I'd say post them in the public chat so that we can have either Angie or Virginia address those or bring them up as needed as we go. All right, so next we will talk about the request for information process. So you are familiar in today's world, DLI sometimes needs information from you or your group to do some research or request an action to be taken on your part. So that process is now in Campus and automated through email or physical mail. So when a request is generated by an internal user, the identified external user being yourself or maybe a designated person within your group would receive an email stating that a request for information has been generated and it needs your action to go forward. So in this screenshot, you can see the email that you can expect to receive when you've been identified as a party for a request for information. So there's a couple of options that you can take to respond to this request for information. One being you can select the link from the email, which will directly navigate you to Campus and allow you to submit the web form. It pre-populates this security code that's generated per request. So each request for information will generate one of these pins that you can use to access the response. If you click the click here link directly from the email, it will automatically pre-populate that pin for you and you can just go right to the submission step. or if you need to provide that PIN to somebody within your group, or you're accessing the PIN through mail and you want to respond that way, you can just go to the submit a filing drop down in the system, and one of the options is to respond to a request for information. So at that point, you would use the PIN that you received to access that specific request. So here you can see there's a PIN validation step on this specific web form for responding to a request for information. That will allow you to access that specific request and provide a response. So either way you get to this step, whether it's going directly from the link in the email or entering the provided PIN in the PIN validation step of the web form, you'll be taken to the response step of this specific web form, at which point you can view the document request. So to note, all requests for information will be provided in document format. So somebody at DLI will generate this document and provide the details of the response, whether they need an EDI transaction or they need more information about a response from a compliance investigation, or anything that they need will be compiled into a document and attached to this response or this request. And then how you'll respond is you will also provide the response in a document and then save that and load it to this response so that somebody at DLI can view that information and do what's necessary going forward. So we'll see what this looks like in the system during the demo, but that's kind of a quick explanation of the process for responding to a request for information. And it will make a lot more sense once you work with the system and do it a couple of times, but we'll show you what that looks like in the system as well. So to note, any web form that you submit as an external user will show up in your My Forms queue section. So whether that's one of the EDI or eFROI submissions that you submit if you're an e-filer, or if that's one of the 4 claims supporting web forms, or any additional filings like the response to a request for information or initiate dispute. So basically any form that you submit in campus will show up here in your My Forms queue section. And I think we touched base on this a little bit in Campus 101, but it's applicable to this training for those claims supporting web form and response to request for information submissions. So you can expect to see those submissions show up in your My Forms queue as well. So here we're showing the penalty details page. So penalties can be assessed to you and or the group that you're in. And then you will be notified of a penalty via email. So once you're notified of a penalty, you can return to campus to view the details of that penalty and submit an objection to that penalty if need be. So what you're seeing in this screenshot is the external view of the penalty details page that allows you again to view the details of the penalty and then submit an objection if needed. If you were to, so like I said, when a penalty is assessed to you or your group and you're identified on that penalty, you would receive an email with a link back to that penalty details page that we just saw. So if you're already logged into your account, it'll go directly to that page. If you're not authenticated or logged in, you'll log in and then be navigated directly to that details page to view information about that penalty. And then if you want to object the penalty, you would select that option there in the top right-hand corner to object the penalty, which would then navigate you to the associated penalty objection web form. So you would then just fill out the form as needed and then provide any supporting attachments or additional information as needed. And then once you submit, the appropriate parties at DLI will be notified of the objection, and then they'll be able to review that information and make a decision as needed. So that's the process for being notified of penalties and then submitting any objection to the penalty as needed. again, this will all make more sense once you work with the system, do it a couple of times. You'll get familiar with how web forms work and where and when to submit these applicable web forms as needed. So in this demo, like I said, we'll talk about submitting a request for information based off of a request for information that's been sent to your emails. So I'm going to log into one of our test email accounts here real quick, and then we'll pull up a request for information that's been sent to one of our test users. We'll kind of see what that response process looks like. Give me 2 seconds and I'll get into that account real quick. Excuse me. And if there's any questions, Angie or Virginia, that you see on the chat that you'd like to address, I think we have a little bit of time to talk those over. I haven't seen anything pop up on the public chat.
Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten any other questions other than those initial ones, so I think we're good to go.
Great. Well, if you can bear with me just a second, I'll get this open. I thought I had it open, but looks like I didn't. So should just take
So while Tyler's doing that, I'm just going to talk over something that he was running through before. He was running through those responses to the request for information and then those penalty objection web forms. So something to keep in mind with those, in Canvas, we have a group management setup. So some of you maybe have heard that term before. You've maybe gotten some emails. Just so you're aware, those requests for information and penalties will go to specific individuals that your organization has specified should receive them. However, anybody can take action on those. So if I was the group, the designated person in my group to receive both the penalties and the request for information, I could forward those emails to Tyler, who's also part of my group. He could follow the instructions in those emails and he could object to the penalty, or he could respond to that request for information as well. And it looks like I saw that there are some questions in the general chat. I'm actually not able to view the general chat, it looks like. Let me see here.
I don't see anything, but maybe I'm not sure where you're seeing the additional questions in the general chat, but
yeah, I see one now that was someone else sent over to me, just asking the definition of a trading partner. So trading partner is just someone who is submitting filings on behalf of a company. So a trading partner could be a TPA, it could be an insurer, it could be a self-insurer. It's essentially, most of the time it's going to be your claim administrator. So it's whoever submits your EDI filings, who's currently submitting your forms to DLI. So a trading partner, I know it's a term that some people are pretty familiar with, others might not be as familiar with, but it's essentially the people or persons or group that's responsible for transmitting that information to DLI, either via EDI, via those eforms, or currently via forms. There is, just important to note, there is a distinction between a trading partner and a vendor. You may use a vendor to submit your EDI filings. Vendors are not considered trading partners. They are just kind of a middleman to get that information to us from your system to our system.
Yep, thanks, Angie.
Yeah, I've got one more question here too. NOPLDs are needed for all claims filed with DLI in the current system. How do we file an NOPLD on claims where there is no payment being issued? So I have a document that I think will help with this, and it's in the process of getting posted to the DLI website on the EDI page. We'll also get it posted on the training page. It's a form to MTC crosswalk. It explains which EDI transactions will be replacing certain forms at DLI. So in this question in particular, I would assume that you're referring to a denial. So in that circumstance, you would file what's called an O4 transaction. That's the denial equivalent in EDI, and that would replace your NOPLD. And if there's no lost time past the 3-day waiting period, you or accepted claim but denied last time. Yep, there's another EDI transaction for that. You can file a partial denial for that, and you can indicate in your narrative that there is no last time beyond the waiting period, or the claim is accepted and you're not paying lost time or a portion of the lost time for one reason or another.
Angie, this is Virginia, and hi everyone. Could you also explain if somebody wanted to file just because it's a serious injury or they're anticipating PPD down the road?
Absolutely. So if you're wanting to file your first report of injury, but there's no lost time at the present, you can still file that first report of injury. Just make sure that your dates reflect that there is no lost time or that there is no lost time beyond the waiting period. If that is the case, you should not need to file anything additional. But if there is, what you could do in addition to that, you could also send what's called a narrative transaction. If it's truly a medical only claim at this point and there's no additional filings that are needed, but you want to get it on record with us, that's definitely not reportable, but you can report it to us if you'd like. There is a transaction called the NT. It's a narrative, and it's exactly what it sounds. You can just send us a narrative explaining something about the claim if you'd like. That I would definitely limit, though, to those medical only claims that you need to, you'd like to get to us for one reason or another that wouldn't require that NOPLD equivalent to be filed. In a situation where it's like a serious injury, you're likely going to either be making a payment on those, which would be your IP, or you're doing a denial, which would be your O4, a PD, which is your partial denial, or you would be indicating that the employer is paying it. We do also have a filing that's called a compensable death filing. So that is not your NOPLD equivalent, but that would be used in situations where you have a compensable death claim, you know that it's something you all are going to accept liability for, but you do not know where the dependents are, and you're in the process of locating those. You can use that filing to communicate that to the department, so that way we know that it is an accepted claim, that you are just doing some additional work to locate those dependents. So hopefully that answers a few more questions, but if there are more questions, just please continue to send those in the chat, and Virginia and I will monitor that.
Awesome, thanks Angie. All right, so here what you're seeing on the screen is an example of a request for information that has gone out against a compliance case to Adam. So if you receive this email or you're forwarded this email, you can click this direct link that will take you to the campus site. And if you're logged in, it'll take you right to the submission portion of this request for information response web form. So at which point you can view the document so that you can get information about the request and then respond appropriately through attaching your response document here. So this example, not much going on, but you would see the actual request in this document. And then you would, first off, you can see that once we click that hyperlink, we went right to the response step of this web form with the pin already pre-populated. But if you wanted to just give this pin to somebody who needs to respond on your behalf, you can give them the pin. They can go into campus and then respond to the request for information here in the submit a filing dropdown, at which point you would then just enter the pin 7380, and then that would pull up the appropriate request to respond to. So the two options for responding to requests for information, but once you, to respond, you would just upload your response document, either providing specific information or providing confirmation that an action has been performed. And then you would just submit the form there. And then the appropriate staff at DLI would be notified of your response, and then they would review that and then take any follow-up actions as needed. But you can see in the My Forms queue, we have that response for information here. So you have a history and confirmation of that response. That's a couple of ways how you would be able to respond to a request for information once you're notified via email, or if somebody at your organization provides that PIN for you. So next, we'll talk about the annual claims reimbursement process. So if you need to submit a reimbursement for annual claims, you can do that directly in Campus from the related claim details page. So just to know, it's under the submit a filing button there on that claim details page, and then you'll be prompted to fill in additional sections about details related to the annual claim, and we'll see what that looks like in the next demo. But it's just another web form that you would access through the submit a filing dropdown. And then you'll be taken to the appropriate web form, at which point the first step would to be identify the benefit type. So this web form will add additional sections depending on the type of benefit being submitted. So if it's an SI, you'll see the benefit details section become available on step 3. If it's an SB, you'll see that be replaced with the reimbursement details. And then if it's both, you'll be prompted to complete both of those steps. So just to note, depending on your selection on step 1, you would see the appropriate section or sections be applied to the web form. And then once this is submitted, it's routed to the appropriate internal DLI staff to review the submission and make a decision. So they can either approve it, at which point the appropriate annual claim would be created so that the reimbursement process can take place. Or if that's the case, if it's approved, you'll be notified via the notification panel when you log into Campus. Also, they can send you an email notifying you of the approval, or if they reject it, they'll send you an email stating the reason why they've rejected it, and then you can continue the process and resubmit, or not take any additional action, depending on what the response of the review is. So just to know, as soon as you submit the web form, it shows up on the internal staff's queue so that they can review it, make the decision on it all from Campus. Here, what you're seeing is an example of an advanced search functionality on the internal side. So this is just letting you know that once the annual claim is created, internal staff would be able to search for those annual claims through their own search on the internal side. So if they need to do any additional research into an annual claim, they have the ability to use information on that annual claim to search for that and view the details of it, so that they can help facilitate any questions you may have or do any additional research to make their decision. So following the internal approval, like I said, you will receive this specific notification letting you know that the request has been approved. So it'll say your annual claim for reimbursement for the specific type submission has been approved. So it just lets you know, hey, your submission's been approved and you can expect the process to continue. So during this demo, I'll go through actually creating or submitting an annual claim request through Campus. So here, I'm just going to go to a claim that is on this trading partner's profile, but the option's the same no matter whether or not you're a trading partner or an insurer or TPA logging into campus. So if I go to the claim details page that I want to submit the annual claim reimbursement from, I would click the submit a filing button, which one of the options will be annual claim reimbursement. So this will navigate me right to the annual claim reimbursement web form. So like I said before, one of the first steps is to choose a benefit type, and based off of that, you'll have additional information be required. So first, I'll select the preparer of who's submitting this request and their associated address that we want to use. And then we'll select from the available options here. So if I do SB, you'll see the reimbursement details section be applied to the web form. If I select SI, that will be replaced by the benefit details. And then if I select both, you'll see both the benefit and reimbursement details be required. So I'm going to leave it on SI and SB so we can see what each of those steps look like. And then next, you just go along each step and fill in the appropriate information. In this instance, I'm going to say it's ongoing. You can also identify it as the final claim submission, and that would terminate the the applicable claim. So I'm going to say ongoing, and then we can add any additional evidence as need be. So here I'm just going to add a test document to see what this looks like. And then I would select the appropriate document type for what supports that request or that document. So upload that there, and it shows up here in this little preview panel. And then I'm going to go on to the next step, which is the first of the variable steps, being the benefit details, because I selected SI. So here we would want to submit information around medical reimbursement and indemnity details or payments. So first is asking me to submit the period for reimbursement on medical and rehabilitation. So I will select the period that I'm requesting reimbursement on. So if we'll say started January 1st, 2019, and then it went to January 1st of 2020. So that's my year period that I'm submitting the reimbursement for medical and rehab. And then here next is asking me for the medical and rehab expenses that were claimed. Let's say it's 20,000. And then it's going to remove any deductible anything that I can deduct to this date of injury. So let's say that's 2,000. You can see here under the subtotal, it automatically does the calculation for you. And then I'm going to complete this section by identifying any medical percent that was apportioned. So if I just say 5%, automatically calculates that out of the total and removes that amount. So this is your lump sum amount to be reimbursed for medical and rehab. So you can see if you just follow along, it will do a lot of the work for you if you just put in the amounts that are applicable. And then we're going to do kind of the same exercise here for the indemnity expenses. So obviously, if you had no medical expenses, you would just put those down as 0 for the same period. So if we're doing indemnity, we can just do it for the same period as we did that we're claiming for the medical. So I will input that year period that I'm looking to get the benefit for. One thing to note here, you see this calculate benefits button. These are here to help you calculate the benefits that you paid out for this given period. So I click that and it automatically pops open this PPD calculator for you. And it pre-populates some of the information from the related claim for you. So if I were to say their weekly average wage at the date of injury was 500, we're going to exclude any kind of Social Security or other benefits for this example. And then the benefit period I had was 1/1/2019 to, it's not really applicable for this example because this date of injury is here, but I can bump this back and say that their date of injury was actually in 2018. And then we're going to bring this through to the benefit period of our example, and we'll say their total earnings were 10,000. We'll see if this works for us in our example. All right, so it's saying our total benefits here is 10,800 based off of the calculation, and you can get details about that calculation to see how we got it to this number. So once I do that, once I hit this next button, what it'll do is automatically pull in this resulting amount into this appropriate field. So it does that for us here. So you can use these calculators. So that right here is TTD, and then you can fill in the appropriate calculators to get the amounts for you. So that kind of helps you back into those numbers for you using the calculators. I'm going to go ahead and say retraining benefits for this. Let's say $1,000. So you can see what it did was it took the TPD benefits and it added the retraining benefits to that. And then if I were to, you can also manually add amounts to these benefit amounts if you already know what they are. You don't have to use the calculator. So if I put 3,000 there, we can see that it added it to our running total. And then if any benefits were paid out for 0, you just put 0 in it. Because all these fields are required, so you'll just have to identify 0 for that amount. So we can see here 14,800 is our current total for our benefits. And then we have some additional amounts to input here. So any deductible amount for our indemnity would take out of the total. So here you can see if we were to put 2,000, our running total gets reduced by any deductible amount. And then again, we have the ability to identify the apportioned percentage amount for indemnity. If we'll say 3%, so that reduces our subtotal by 3%. So this last section here is asking us to apply any type of permanency paid. So we'll say partial compensation here, and then we'll put the appropriate amount, which will then add to our total here. And then what you see here is the sum between the total medical and rehab and the indemnity. So it's taking the $17,100, adding in the indemnity amount of $12,416, and then tacking on the additional dollars paid out for the permanency. So that once you put in all the amounts, the web form automatically calculates your totals for you. And then we'll move on to the next step for SB, which is to identify the reimbursement details for supplementary benefits. So you can either use this calculate reimbursement button here to calculate that period for you, or you can just add the benefit period. And then once you identify that, you can update the details of that benefit period, and it'll again run some calculations for you. So here I'll say 1/1/2019 to 1/1/2020, and it'll tell us the number of weeks in the period, which is a year of 52 weeks. Our weekly compensation rate is $500. Social Security, let's say 0, weekly 0. And then our max sup benefits for this, let's say, is 5,000. And then once you do that, it will calculate the appropriate subtotal, times it by the week, run any offsets as need be, and then tell you what your total net supplemental benefits are. So we have that $4,750 amount for our supplemental benefits for the reported reimbursement period of 1/1/19 to 1/1/20. And then if you need to upload any evidence to support the request, you can do that here as well before moving on to the next step. And then again, if you ever need to go back to a previous step to edit it, you can always do that quickly through the navigation panel up here at the top. So don't feel like you're going to be locked in once you go to the next step. You can always go back and review and make updates as need be as you're submitting these web forms. Here it's going to give you the opportunity to input any lump sum amounts. If I wanted to, let's say, put a lump sum amount of 3,000, I can identify that here and then pick an appropriate award on step filing date if need be. If there is no lump sum amount associated with this benefit or this reimbursement request, I can hit no lump sum, and that will void out those fields for you. So this is our chance to provide any additional information about this filing and review the details about the filing. So here you can see it automatically pulls in some employee information based off of the related claim. So you can review and make certain that this is the right claim that you're submitting the request on. You'll also need to identify the employer associated to the claim. So here we only have the option for the paint store, so we'll select that as the employer. And then fill in additional information. So it defaults it to the same insurer as the preparer, but you have the ability to update the insurer information as need be. So if I select that, it'll give me the addresses for that associated insurer group. And then you review the preparer information. So we did this earlier. So myself will be the preparer name since I'm the one submitting this web form. And then the previously identified preparer for the group that I'm in. The email associated to that, the date that we're filing it, which is today. It pulls in some contact information, but you can change this if you have a different number you'd like to use. And then the associate address that we identified in step 1. So it just quickly allows you to ensure that you have the proper information for the submission. And then it'll display also the submission type. So this is your last chance to review the information and select some additional information about the parties involved in the submission and the type of submission. And then once I hit next here, this gives us the option to attach any additional supporting attachments that will help make the decision for the reimbursement request. So this is your chance to support attach anything that will help support your submission. So to note, you can add as many documents in this section as you want if you have multiple types of supporting information to go along with this submission. And the last step here is similar to most web forms. You'll sign your first and last name as it displays on your account. So in this instance, it's Mr. Electronic Interchange. You'll affirm the submission, put the appropriate date, and then it has some default verbiage here about stipulations and statute. And then when you hit submit, it does a couple of things. It will it'll submit the web form and kind of memorialize the information submitted, and it will notify the internal user that the appropriate internal staff that a submission for annual claim reimbursement has been submitted, and then they can take the additional steps to review and make a decision like we saw in the presentation. So that's the process for going through and submitting annual reimbursement requests on a claim. And then again, since it's a web form, you always have access to your history of submissions through the My Forms history. So go here, we can see the annual claim for reimbursement. And then if it has a hyperlink, you can also go to that to see information related to your submission. So it opens up the web form view only so that you can see what you submitted in case you need to review the information that was provided to DLI. So that's another nice feature. So you can say, oh no, I accidentally didn't mean to do that. Or if they respond back with a rejection of a reason why they didn't approve it, you always have the ability to go review the information submitted so you can see kind of where you went wrong and then make changes to the new submission. All right, so we'll dive back in here. We're making good time. I believe we have until 11 Mountain Time, so still have another hour. So if you have any questions, or if you want me to expand on any of this, feel free to go ahead and leave it in the chat, and we can circle back up at the end. But if there's
Tyler?
any, yep.
We do have a question here in the chat. So just if we use, if we submit EDI, Freud's and Troy's, must we also do the reimbursement request via EDI? So there is not an EDI equivalent for doing your reimbursement request that's going to go to the fund. You would still submit your filings for the claim via EDI, but when you actually need to put in that request for reimbursement, so it's similar to like that form that you come into our website now and you fill out and then it sends a copy over to SCF. You do still need to do the supplemental web form for that as well. But obviously that would only be on claims where you're actually seeking that reimbursement. So unless you're handling claims like that, you wouldn't need to worry about it.
All right. Yeah, so the actual reporting of benefits paid out will still go through EDI, but when it comes around to requesting reimbursement on that annual basis, this is the web form that you'll need to submit so that the proper SCF staff is able to review it and take action to actually initiate the reimbursement and get that paid out back to you. Thanks, Angie. All right, so we'll hit this last section here. I don't see any other questions that we can address at this moment, but again, feel free to either privately message any one of us, Josh, myself, Angie, or Virginia, and then we can address those or put them in the public chat if you would like as well. All right, so it's the last section here. We're gonna discuss assessments. So these special comp fund assessments are used for insurers to report benefits for the previous year. I'm not 100% certain how this currently happens in today's world, and maybe Angie or Virginia can shed some light on that. But as far as in the campus world, this will be facilitated through web form submission. It sounded like we had somebody jump in there.
Yeah, so so Tyler's gonna review all of this. If you all are people who are handling claims or claims managers, there's a chance that this is done by someone else in your office. This is just the total of the indemnity that's paid on a yearly basis. It's a requirement, statutory requirement for this to be submitted to us. So this is definitely good information to have, but chances are there may be someone else in your office who actually handles this currently.
Thanks, Angie. Yeah, we'll walk through what this looks like if you were to be the one responsible to submit this. It's pretty straightforward, but there's a few things to consider when interacting with this process. So this will be done in campus directly from your insure group details page. And I'll show you exactly what this looks like during the demo, but you'll see in the screenshot on the right that there's a submit insurers report button in the top right. This is where you'd be able to access that submit insurers report web form that you're seeing here on the screen now. It's a very straightforward web form. It's just requesting that you report the indemnity benefits and any replacement policy amounts for the total previous year. So it will tell you which year that you're reporting this for. So it automatically identifies which year we're in, and then identifies the previous year that you can report. So the one thing to keep in mind is that when you submit this for a given year, you will no longer be able to submit to resubmit this. So it's really important that you make the appropriate submit the appropriate amounts, because once you submit this for a given year, this button does not become available until the next full year. So if we were to submit it now for the fiscal year of 20, or for the year of 2019, which was a better year than 2020, it would gray out and disable this button until we hit January 1st, 2021. which will hopefully be a better year. So again, once you hit that button, it's going to provide the period in which you need to provide these amounts for and the amounts that you need to provide. Indemnity benefits is required, but you're also able to report any replacement policy amounts paid out in that reporting year. So I'll show you in the demo exactly where you can expect to find this option if you were to be the one that needs to actually complete this process. So let me log out of this trading partner because I think it makes more sense to log into an account that looks more like what you should expect to see once you log in as an insurer or TPA. All right, so we'll get logged in here. So I'm going to kind of mimic if I were an insurer or TPA logging into Campus. So this is what you would see as your dashboard. Here at the top right-hand corner, you have your user menu with one of the options being the My Groups. So once you click on this, it will display a list of all insured groups that, or all groups that you as a member are, or you as a user are a member of. So you can see here in this example, I'm currently a member of the insurer group, an employer group, a rehab group, another insurer. So you can see it's just a list of all groups that I'm a member of. Might not be applicable to you in real life, be a member of all these different types of groups. You might just have one, you might have a couple, you might have a bunch, but this is kind of where you can see all the groups that you're a member of. And then that will allow you to actually navigate directly to that group's details page. So if I were to need to submit this on New Brighton Insurance, I can click here. It'll navigate me to the details page of this insurer. And you can see here that the Submit Insure Reports buttons is grayed out because we've already submitted for the previous year of 2019. So this is an example of where we would no longer be able to access this web form because we've already submitted for the appropriate year. So come January 1st, 2021, this button would then be available to submit for the full year of 2020. If I go back to my groups, maybe we can find an insured group that I'm a part of that hasn't already submitted this. We've done this demo a few times, so we've probably submitted it on all the groups that I'm a part of. But we'll see here if I can find anything. If not, it's pretty straightforward though. We don't necessarily need to show it on screen because as soon as you click that button, you will be navigated directly to this web form here. And just like we saw all web forms, once you submit, you'll get that confirmation page with the web form confirmation number, and then you'll also see that submission in your My Forms queue. So if we go back to my dashboard and I go to the My Forms queue, we should see one of those reported in here. Give it a second with the screen share. It likes to lag a little bit. Doesn't play friendly with WebEx. So we can scan through here, or we can actually, if we know the name of the web form submission that we submitted, we can look for Insure Report and see anything that has been submitted for that type of web form. Yep, so you can see the 3 insurer assessment reports submitted on this account to all of the groups that we saw in the My Groups page when we were looking for one to submit on. So that's a way. Some of these web forms don't have the ability to view, because either they don't have a view-only version of the web form, or they don't have a document generated, but you have a reference that it was submitted. And the internal user can provide additional information on that submission if you give them the web form confirmation number. That's their way to look up that web form and give you additional information if need be. And that's also their way to reference the exact web form that you can view. So let's looks like I got logged out here. Let's go back in here real quick. Because some web forms actually create transactions. And you will be able to view those from other parts of the system. So if you don't necessarily have the ability to review your submission, you should be able to view information related to that submission through a separate transaction. So we'll go back here. We'll refilter this as insure. And then if we go to the associated transaction, we can go in here. Angie, I don't know if we have that associated transaction here. So I think you would just view that submission there, but the internal staff is notified of that submission and they can review that as need be, but that's your way to report the assessments to DLI.
Yeah, and just for clarification, so the assessments are done as like an aggregate of the indemnity that would have been paid out by each company. So you wouldn't necessarily have them tied to a specific claim or anything. They would truly just be identified by the year.
Yep, and this is the resulting assessment report that gets generated when you submit that that report. Pretty sure. I haven't had too much experience on this side of things, so I could be misspeaking, but I'm pretty sure that this is the transaction in Campus that gets generated upon that submission, so you can view additional information about that. Is that correct, Angie?
Yep, I believe that's correct.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's where you can get more information about your submission for all the years that you've submitted this assessment for a specific insurer group. And again, you might not be the one doing this, but it's also good to know just so you can, whenever you come in, you can view information about the assessments that have been submitted by somebody in your group, so you can get additional information on that. So with that, that does conclude the plan training for Campus 201 for insurers and trading partners. I haven't seen any additional questions pop up, but we still have about 45 minutes to answer any questions you may have related to this material or just anything in general up to this point that you'd want to ask myself or a DLI staff member that's on the call as well. Did anybody else receive any private messages that we'd want to? It looks like we did just get a question here. Serving maximum medical improvement is another form that we generally have to file on every claim. How would we do that? What would it be? Would it be under other filing? So Angie, would you be able to shed some light on that?
I can field that one. So you can do that a few different ways. If you want to just make us aware of that and you are not doing it as part of a NOID 3 situation, you can do exactly what you outlined, Bridget. You can just go to other filing and then you can select from the drop down. So if you click here, if you do upload document here, and I apologize, I'm like narrating as Tyler's clicking through it, so it might be a little less smooth than normal. So if we select a document here, it can be any PDF, and you can scroll down and choose whatever you think is the best fit. I would probably use medical record for this, and then you could actually type in that description. So if you want to type service of maximum medical improvement, you can do that. We'll be able to see that in your description. Now, once you click upload, you just need to complete the remaining steps. So if there's supporting attachments to that, you can do that. You can do your electronic signature right from here. Definitely don't have to do supporting attachments if it's not needed. But once you do your electronic signature and click submit, this is actually going to show up in your My Forms history. And if you are on a claim specifically, you click this, it'll take you back to your document. But you'll be able to see that immediately in your My Forms tab and then immediately on the Documents tab of whatever claim you filed it on. So you can see here, we scroll down to the bottom and click on Documents. We'll see that document we just uploaded on Rory's claim right there.
And to note, if you did attach any supporting documents, it would show up as attachment to this main medical record document type, like
Yes.
this.
So another time when you might want to submit that as well is when you are completing that discontinuance web form. If you are discontinuing for 90 days post-service of MMI, even though you've likely already submitted that filing to us, it probably is not a bad idea if you are filling out that MMI service date to go ahead and upload it as a supporting document for your discontinuance. Just saves, I used to work in the compliance department, so I can speak to this, and I know Virginia can too. It'll just save you getting another letter from us saying that we need you to upload it. It looks like we've got another question here while Tyler's kind of finishing this up about uploading documents. Do they have to be PDFs or can they be other forms, TIFFs, JPEGs, or Word documents?
I can field that one. I
Yeah.
can just show you real quick what's expected. So what I'm gonna do here is just upload a form or a document type that I know is not supported by campus, which is a video or like a WRF file. So if I were to do that, what it's going to do is it's going to tell me all the available file types that are allowed. So it does tell you if it's not supported by campus, as well as gives you the list of all supported document types.
We can copy and paste and put this in the chat as well.
Yeah, we can do that just so that you're aware, so that you can review. Let me put this in the chat. Supported document types.
Go ahead, Tyler.
No, that's it. I was just gonna finish that thought.
Yeah, something to keep in mind with these, and I believe, Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but if you are serving a document, if it is actually going through the service process, it does need to be a PDF, I believe.
Correct.
So if it's a supporting document, that might not be as important, but if it is the document that you are serving, it does, I believe, need to be a PDF. Just so that way it can't be manipulated down the line.
Sure.
There's a question here about group admin login IDs and passwords. That's a really good question. I do not have a specific date for that, but I will circle up with the group that is coordinating that effort, and we can get you a better date or a solid date for when those will be available to you.
And this is Virginia. I'd also received a question on, is there a cutoff date for older work comp claims that we will not be able to submit a FROI UR if the date of injury is prior to a certain date, such as older work comp claims from like going back to 2002. Angie, I'm just wondering if you could maybe comment on what a FROI UR is, just to clarify that, and then any comments on claims that will be transferred from our current system into the new system, and then what happens if it's a super old claim that was never opened. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, I can comment on that. So a UR, we've been throwing that term out a decent amount. What that stands for is an update report. And essentially what it does is it gets the data that we have in our current system up to date with the information that you all have in your systems so that we can start with EDI on these claims. So if it's an older filing, it may be something that you never did an EDI FROI on. That's totally fine. If you're still reporting on that claim and you're going to need to submit SHROI transactions on that claim, we would still ask that you do that FROI update report, and then you would submit a SHROI update report as well. Once that SHROI update report is accepted in our system, you can go ahead and start filing additional SHROI transactions. There isn't a cutoff. If it's a file that has ongoing activity that's reportable to the state, you would need to do that FROI UR and SURE UR. There will be probably a very small subset of files that you all will report to us that may not need a SURE UR. And an example of that would be, say today you guys submitted a FROI 00 to us. You're still working on the information for the NOPLD. So that doesn't get submitted prior to 8/31, or I believe the cutoff for those might be 8/28. Virginia can correct me if I'm wrong there, but let's say you just don't have the information quite ready to submit that NOPLD before the absolute cutoff. You would actually just go ahead and file your FROI UR, and instead of a SURE UR, you would just go ahead and do your NOPLD equivalent maintenance type code after August 31st. Hopefully that answers the questions. I do have a planned correspondence going out. I believe it will be going out Monday. It's a newsletter for the trading partners, TPAs, insurers, and self-insurers. So if you all have received those newsletters from us in the past, keep your eye on your inbox for that. That does explain those URs much more in depth.
And this is Virginia. I'll just kind of piggyback on that. I just in the chat feature, and I'm hoping everybody can see it. Signing up to receive information from the department, if you've not already, I put in the link to our department website so you can sign up to receive our compact quarterly newsletter. So it goes out quarterly, and then special editions go out from time to time, such as COVID, and COVID denials was a big one that just was sent out. And then certainly any other updates from the department. So there's going to be some ongoing communications with campus. And if you're not signed up to receive those, I would certainly encourage you to do that. If you've got peers on your teams or groups, and if they're not signed up, I would encourage you to forward that link to them as well to get signed up.
Where on the screen, Virginia, would they go to do that?
Oh, perfect. Yep. Actually, I think you're on the actual training page. So if you could actually stay there for a minute, Tyler, I'll just point out there's a lot of good information right here. So kind of that top link, it was an overview and a list of all the training courses. And then the next link down, view the chart. Which ones do I need to take? I think most folks in this group will also be taking like a dispute resolution class. In addition to Campus 101 for organizations, which was a prerequisite for this class. So the last one for most insurers, there we go. So for insurers and third-party administrators, the third bullet down there shows the 3 classes. And obviously we're in the second one right now, Campus 201 for insurers and third-party administrators. And then dispute resolution would be the last class that you'd sign up for. And if for some reason you miss them, again, all of these videos of the recorded sessions will be made available on this training website. So this is a great one, again, to save in your favorites and, share again with all your peers. So the presentations are the PowerPoint slides, and then the videos are recorded sessions. Right above there, the full technical manual is going to be a great resource. So that's reason enough probably to save this link as a favorite. If you could maybe scroll down a little bit, we've also got quick reference guides. You can kind of see some of the topics there. And then under video tutorials, those are, they'll take you out to YouTube, and they're quick 2-3 minute videos, topic specific information that move you around the system. So again, all of kind of the reference and training materials are going to be housed on this site. So save the link, share the link, and here's where you can refer out to a certain section, and it kind of takes you step by step through workflows. What else? There is a help desk email. A help desk is being set up specifically for campus questions, concerns, any issues you might be having. It's my understanding it'll be available starting next Tuesday, the 25th, and that information will be coming out to people who are signed up on that Gov delivery list that I just spoke about. I don't have that information quite yet ready to go today, but that's a way to get those updates, and you can get the link, again, the address and the link to the help desk to submit any issues or problems. Go live is still Monday, August 31st. That was another question I got.
Do we have the place where they can sign up
Oh,
for
yep,
newsletters and alerts?
I don't believe it's on this page. If you're able to click on the link, I'm not sure if you're able to see in the chat feature.
Didn't see any other links.
Okay.
Other than the ones that Angie just sent.
Yeah, let me see if I can send it to you privately.
I just sent it, Virginia. I think that
Okay.
there's just a little bit of a difference between if you send something to all attendees, the panelists do not see it.
Yep.
So
Okay, so Tyler's on the right page here. So here's where you'd sign up for news from the department, and it's kind of broken out by unit or department. So if you could scroll down, please, Tyler, to the bottom to get to work comp. There's workers comp. So you can sign up for multiple alerts or information. The top one is that compact article, and then adjuster updates, based on your role. You can get all sorts of targeted information based on your role. You can sign up for one or all of them. So it's a really easy process to do. Enter your email address and hit submit. And I think it asks you one more additional question after that, but to confirm maybe your email. I haven't signed up in a long time. But
in addition to that, I did just send out another link that's specific for EDI information. So if you are someone in your office who deals with EDI or eforms, there's a notice on here. Otherwise, if you scroll further down, all of our EDI documentation is on this page. So our implementation guide, the element requirement table, edit matrix, event table, some of those supplemental guides that go along with that. If you don't do anything with EDI, you do not necessarily need to reference this page. But I know that I have gotten a lot of questions from people just asking where EDI documents are as far as the edits and things of that nature. So this is a good page to have for that information. And then I will also make sure that we get those reference guides added to this page as well as that training page that we were showing you earlier.
All right, so a lot of good resources discussed there. All the links should be in the chat, so if you want to capture those real quick so you can save them, make sure you are aware to where to go to find some information related to what you're looking to do, and sign up for those newsletters so that you can stay up to date on where we're at and get useful information about campus and what's going on with the go live date and all that. So feel free to capture all that. We still have some time, so if anybody has any more specific questions about the processes that we went over, just general questions about campus, or if you want me to circle back up and go into anything in more detail, because this training course will be released as a video, so it's a good resource as well to go back and get more familiar with the system before we hit go live and it becomes available to you. So I think we'll leave it open for a few minutes and see if we get any more additional questions. Panelists, if you get anything privately, feel free to share. We can go over that as well. But if you have to drop for any reason, I'm just going to say I appreciate your attendance, and we're really excited for campus to be available and for everybody to be able to get in there and start using it. So Thank you for joining. If you have to drop, and again, we'll leave the meeting open for another few minutes in case any other questions come in before we officially end this training. Not seeing anything come in. Thanks again. And if you do have anything that, any questions that come to mind, you can always post those in that WCMP mailbox at the bottom of that page in the link here. So anything at all that comes to mind, feel free to go ahead and send it to that email, and we'll get it added to the Q&A so that we can get that all consolidated into a running list of all the questions that come in. And then this material, this training course, presentation, and video should be posted in this resource section on this page as well in the coming week. So keep an eye out on that so that you can grab that and take another look at it if need be. So with that, I think we can go ahead and wrap up because it doesn't look like we're getting any more specific questions right now. So thanks again for your participation, and have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. And thanks for the panelists for joining in and answering the questions as well. All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.